We're moving on to hear the Attorney General. At this conference, we base ourselves on two pillars, two tenets: national security and national resilience. National security deals with the threats from without, and our national resilience is in the context of something like termites that could eat us from within. And Dr. Avichai Mandelblit, the Attorney General, has agreed to accept our invitation. He appears like the last vanguard protecting us, and if he doesn't succeed, maybe we'll have a special conference about that, and if he succeeds, we'll also have a special conference about his success. I cannot imagine Israel as a corrupt and deteriorating country, and so I'm very happy that the Attorney General has accepted our invitations. I don't want to elaborate on that any further. Dr. Mandelblit, the floor is yours. Thank you to the IDC Herzliya, Professor Reichman, deans, heads of institutes, faculty members, distinguished guests. There are a lot of distinguished people here. So I'm very happy to speak at this important conference, the Herzliya Conference, an event that hosts leaders and experts from Israel and the world to hold a discourse on central issues related to Israel's national resilience. And indeed, the subject of the conference this year is navigating in stormy waters. And our national resilience, as defined in the heading, is made up of different types of security. So there is, of course, national security, which relates to Israel's military strength and its ability to contend with the different security threats. And there is economic strength and resilience, that is the employment and various other components of Israel's economy which are necessary for Israel's welfare. Another type of security discussed here at the conference, and which too is very important, is health security, which relates to the health system and the ability to provide quick and high quality service to everyone. And there are different types of security: nutritional security, job security, and so on. I would like to discuss this evening a further type of security, which in my opinion is an inseparable part of Israel's national resilience. And unsurprisingly, in consideration of my position, I would like to talk about something that I call legal security. And legal security is also an inseparable part of Israel's security and resilience. And when this legal security is under attack, it is a national interest of the first order to fight that. And what is legal security? And legal security is the trust of every citizen that the legal system will carry out its role in a democracy and retain the superiority of the legal system to safeguard individual rights. And we can talk about a number of roles. And one is placing the legal tools at the disposal of the government, protecting individual rights, safeguarding public safety, and deciding on legal conflicts. And when there is legal security, everyone knows that the state will use the legal authority at its disposal to protect them against terror and do everything that it can to give their children proper education and develop the economy of the country, and do what is necessary to establish public infrastructures for the public welfare, and do whatever is necessary to advance the policies for which the government was elected. elected. But when there is legal security, a person knows that he's signed an agreement, that agreement will be respected, and if not, he will be placed on trial. This is true in agreements between commercial companies and also in agreements when one of the parties is the state. Without legal security, and without legal security, a person knows that if he has been harmed in a criminal case, the state will use its power and police and so on to protect him. People can't do whatever they like. And when there is legal security, a person whose rights have been harmed because of an irregular governmental act, he knows that he has the right to demand relief from the court. And as the late Prime Minister Menachem Begin said, when the fortress of justice falls, no one has protection from corrupt authority. And that could be the subject of an entire conference on its own. I would like to discuss some of the characteristics of that legal security that are relevant. But even before that, it's important to understand why this subject has suddenly become so crucial, to the extent that my good friend Amos said what he said in the introduction before I spoke. Why is this subject so crucial? Because conflicts and disputes have always been the role of the legal system in Israel since the earliest days of the state. But the reason that it is coming up at this particular time is the feeling that has been created among the public regarding the existence of an actual threat to the legal system in Israel. And the feeling is that there is an attempt to weaken those institutes whose role it is to protect the legal system and trying to delegitimize the legal and justice systems. Some try to delegitimize individuals who are part of this system, and there are initiatives to change the rules of the game according to which the legal system works in an effort to weaken the effectiveness and independence of the justice system. We're not talking about specific efforts to change specific aspects in the relationship between the legislature and the judiciary, but rather an erosion of what I call the defense lines, which in the 71 years of Israel independence established the legal security of every individual in the state. For 71 years of Israel's independence, we did not discuss the subject of legal security for the simple reason that these lines of defense were obvious. They never needed to be defined. They were clear principles in the rule of law of Israel and served as a defensive shield for the citizens of the state. The approach was always that a strong legal system contributes to the strength of the state of Israel. It was a source of pride inside the state and outside it. This legal security was an inseparable part of our lives. However, recently, unfortunately, these basic principles of the rule of law, especially equality before the law, have become a legitimate question for discussion. And this is the case regarding the principle according to which the government leaders must act only according to the actual facts before them. And these are principles of Israeli law even before the establishment of the state. This is nothing new, and these are not rules that were established as part of what is known as the constitutional revolution. What I am talking about, legitimacy for the system and individuals, and these things have become so salient that many in the Israeli public have understood that a central component in the legal security of the state may be weakened. And that is why we're hearing at this particular time so many voices that oppose these delegitimization processes and are against these initiatives. And it is important to bear in mind, in Israel we have a single Supreme Court whose role is to enforce the law and protect human rights and civil rights. And there is one Attorney General whose role is to help the government fulfill its policy by law, and who is also the head of the national prosecution. and law enforcement. There is one police force in Israel whose role is to protect public security and fight crime. Weakening of any of these components, certainly of all of them, will harm the legal security of every individual in the state, and as a result, will also harm Israel's national resilience. And that is the reason why the subject of legal security has become so central and important in these times. That is why it is so important to discuss it this evening, even if only briefly, out of the hope that by placing this on the public agenda will help us all understand why it is a national mission to defend and safeguard the institutions of the law. Already at this stage, I would like to emphasize, and I will get back to it later, but the need to defend the legal security of each individual. That does not mean that the components of the legal system are immune from any criticism. On the contrary, the criticism of these institutions are a basic element of the rule of law and enable them to work effectively. We are open to criticism and to a national discourse on changes, but we stand strong against actions of systemic and personal delegitimizations out of an effort to weaken the legal system whose role it is to safeguard us all. In my introductory remarks, I discussed the principles of law in a democratic society. In regard to placing legal tools at the disposal of the government, the Attorney General's office, which includes the Attorney General and the General Prosecution, they provide legal tools of the highest quality to the politicians. Most of these things are behind the scenes. They don't make headlines, but they're there all the time. The Attorney General's office deals with internal security, the economy, settlement in Judea and Samaria, protecting the interests of Israel in the international innovation in cyber, health and tourism, science and technology, culture, and so on. And everywhere where the government works, there are legal advisors that have helped them. We're talking about hundreds of laws that are passed every year with the help of the legal advisors that work in the governmental ministries. And they successfely managed to represent the government in the many decisions that are made with the support of the legal advisor and the Attorney General. And the attorney, they are also gatekeepers, and they are crucial to the state of Israel. I can give you many examples, but I'll bring only one, a recent one that I'm not sure everyone is familiar with. Two fathers who adopted a child in what is called full adoption, which is also known as closed adoption, were registered in the census as their parents, and they wanted to give the child an updated birth certificate where they would both be registered as the child's parents, and the Ministry of the Interior refused. And this came before the High Court of Justice. And this was in comparison to other cases of full adoption of a father and a mother in which a new birth certificate is routinely issued, in which the father and the mother appear as the parents. And therefore, the legal position of the State of Israel in this legal procedure was opposed to that of the Ministry of the Interior, that the two fathers' names should appear in the birth certificate. The Supreme Court accepted my position and determined, I accept the position of the Attorney General, who believes that the principle of the best interests of the child involve the registration of the parents' names on his birth certificate. And there should not be any difference between this child and a child who is adopted by a heterosexual couple. and this is the best interest of the parents and the child. And it is important also to mention that one of the initiatives regarding the weakening of the role of the Attorney General sought to forbid the Attorney General from presenting a legal position in the court that is not exactly consistent with that of the minister. For example, if that initiative had become law, in the case that I mentioned, I would not have been able, and the position that I presented would not have been heard before the court, a position that sought to protect the rights of the adopted child and his adoptive parents. Can we imagine that in a democratic country, the Attorney General should be silenced from presenting his position that a certain decision harms the civil rights of individuals, something that in the past could never have been considered? Certainly, this initiative would weaken the gatekeepers and harm the legal security of the citizens of Israel. It is important at the same time to bear in mind that a procedure of this kind is an exception, a very great exception. We do whatever we can to help the politicians implement their policies in the framework of the law. I am aware of the importance, the great importance, that the politicians be able to advance their policies, and we make great efforts in complicated cases. That is the routine work of the Attorney General and the legal advisors. But in those exceptions, in which there is no alternative, when the position of the politician is not consistent with the law and civil rights, the legal security of the state's citizens require that the Attorney General be able to present his professional position in a clear and loud voice. That is the role of maintaining human rights that I mentioned earlier. In this role, this is also the role of the courts. We must bear in mind that in some cases the court did not accept my view when I believed that I could defend the politicians, and my position was rejected. There were not a lot of cases like this, but there have been such cases. But in those cases, when the High Court of Justice dismissed the position of the politicians, the government was required to carry out the ruling verbatim. And I have discussed this with the decision maker, and that is the meaning of a law-abiding democracy and the meaning of legal security in a democracy. And now I would like to relate to the subject of maintaining public order and preventing crime and the fight against governmental corruption. The connection between this role and the legal security of every individual is obvious. Without effective criminal enforcement, people will do whatever they like, and the road to anarchy is very short. One of the basic principles of a legal system in a democracy, and this is of course expressed especially in criminal enforcement, is the principle of equality before the law. This is a basic axiom of the law. This is the most fundamental meaning of the rule of law. No one is above the law. And as I said when I entered my position as Attorney General, the principle of the rule of law is that everyone is equal before the law, no matter how big or how small. In the case of the Prime Minister, as I have mentioned previously many times, I've stated very clearly, I consider great importance to the process of the hearing. The Prime Minister has been given a process of hearing in these cases, and every claim that will be voiced will be heard with an open heart and an open ear, and I mean that. And everything that was decided until now was based only on the evidence. No one will push us off the straight and narrow. Not those shouting on this side and not those shouting on that side. Although I have heard that there are those who already know before me what decision I will make at the hearing. Not only that, they also know that that decision will be made as they say, not for the right reasons, but rather because of pressures of different kind that have been that will be exerted on me. And they are claiming in advance that whatever I decide should not be taken seriously, and that whatever I decide should be blocked without fully exhausting the hearing and criminal process in this country. However, the truth is that anyone who says that is trying to corrupt the value of equality before the law. We must relate to the things as they are. Clearly, that no pressure can or will influence my decision, which will only be based on evidence and the law. What we see here is an effort to delegitimize the legal system, both systemically and individually, and all in order to change the rules of the game, in order to undermine the most basic principle of equality before law. This is destructive to the rule of law and the legal security of every citizen of the state, because if even a single person is above the law, there will be many others that follow. And this snowball, as it goes down the mountain, no one will be able to stop. If one brick falls from the wall of equality before the law, the whole wall can come tumbling down. It is important for me to say, and I've said this in the past, in Israel we often encounter phenomena of governmental corruption. We must deal with them with full force. However, the state of Israel is not a corrupt country. Thanks to the fact that it has independent and effective legal system, this is what fights corruption. If these systems are weakened or delegitimized, we will no longer be able to say we live in a country that is not corrupt. In the absence of equality before the law, anyone who is harmed by criminals will lose trust in the legal system. That is why we must fight the effort to delegitimize the legal system. And that's why we must fight these initiatives to weaken the systems. It is important to reiterate, the Prime Minister's cases are being dealt with professionally, and I have mentioned this in previous cases. Every claim of persecution or framing are intended to harm the legitimacy of the system and have no basis whatsoever. These cases are being dealt with the most devoted and senior public servants that we have. I am aware of the efforts to delegitimize these people, and I reject them completely. This is very important, devoted and professional work that is done in the investigations department. These people work day and night to fight crime on all fronts, and they deal with tens of thousands of cases every year of violence, property crimes, sex crimes, weapons crimes, and the peace and quiet that citizens enjoy here is thanks to them, and they work very skillfully and with endless devotion. Commissioner Superintendent Gabi Siso, the head of the Investigations Committee, is a very, very important individual, and he works very hard. And the police commissioner, Moti Cohen, works in close cooperation with the other arms of the law, all in order to ensure the personal and legal security of the citizens of the State of Israel. And of course, the state prosecution headed by Shai Nitzan, who will now soon complete 30 years in public service. Shai, a lot of the people are familiar with this. He has dealt with thousands of petitions to the Court of Justice in some of the most complex cases and has contributed enormously to the security, the legal security of the state. And he works with thousands of attorneys to assure the legal security of the case. I suggest reading the national report of the state prosecution as it is being conducted under him, not only in the criminal area. People are trying to harm his reputation and to undermine the legitimacy of the process, and this will fail. They are trying to harm the good name of attorney Liat Ben-Ari. Those who are familiar with Liat, and I've had that privilege, know that she is really a person who combines leadership and her great skills in the fight against corruption and governmental corruption especially. All those trying to legitimize these devoted public servants will not be successful. No one will frighten us. No one will deter us. We of the legal system consider our job a mission for the state of Israel and for the legal security of the citizens of the state. We will make decisions only based on the law and the evidence. I reiterate, and with this I will conclude my remarks, that the importance that I attribute to the legal system and maintaining the independence of the legal system is not a barrier to change, and certainly not to criticism when necessary. Legal security is not legal stagnation. We must be attentive to the criticism and open to change, and have the ability to learn and draw conclusions. In all these things, freedom of expression is very important. All these things can only strengthen legal security, and that is what we are doing. The principle of strengthening legal security is the difference between constructive criticism and harmful delegitimization, between contributing to the system and weakening it. It is very important to deepen the discussion on legal security, and I hope that my words here will help place this on the national agenda, because this is a matter of life and death. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the conference.